Well, hello everyone and welcome to Renovation Sportfish. I hope everyone had a great holiday with friends and family, or if you were by yourself, I hope you had a great holiday too. Now that the holidays are over, I'm finally getting around to getting this video together. This time of year, November, December, that I was working here, there's a lot going on, and there was a lot more going on than just the holidays for me. And yeah, actually the focus all year wasn't great for the boat. So in this episode we're going to cover, like the thumbnail says, hatches. I got the engine hatches I had to do a little work on, and the hatch that goes over the entry door. So the first portion of this video is going to be about the engine hatches. Now, a few notes on the engine hatches. I did put some fillets on the underside. I'm going to be fiberglassing them here. And I never really did film it, so if you're following along, don't think that you missed something somewhere. Well, you actually did, because I never filmed it and put it out there. You'll just see them installed, and I'll be sanding them a little bit before I fiberglass. Another thing is, the video clips I do are just to give a flavor of the work that I'm doing. Everything took way, way longer than you're seeing in this video. Second half of this video is going to be about the hatch over the entry door. You see me working on that here and there. In this episode, I kind of get it ferreted out and cleaned up basically in a nice shape for the springtime when I can actually paint it. But it's not going to be finished. None of these projects are finished, but they're to a point where I can show you some progress on them. Alright, so it's early November. The boat is all tucked away for the winter, and I'm on to the 33 projects I mentioned at the end of the last video, which has now grown to 40 in less than a week. But anyways, I gotta get on these things. Now, this is one of the engine hatches. Last time I worked on this, it probably was 2 years ago. I never covered this plywood. All the other hatches and deck pieces in the back cockpit, I fiberglassed the plywood on the underside first and then installed it. For some reason, I decided not to do it for these engine hatches. And so this is just open plywood. I didn't even epoxy it or anything. I have to go around and sand all this because I want to put some fiberglass on here. All right, well, after an insane amount of sanding, even by my standards, these hatches are done with the fiberglass. They're very shiny right now because I did put 2 coats of extra epoxy on them after I sanded them last night. There were a few areas where I had to do some repairs. I had the heaters on, and I didn't preheat the room. I was heating it as I was doing it, and the air expanded in some of the pieces of wood, especially on that one over there in the centerpiece. And when I came down to check on it, even though the fiberglass went on like really nice on that one, second one I did, I was disappointed to see that there was air pockets underneath it. There wasn't anything I can do about it, so I ended up just cutting them out with a little X-Acto blade and filling them with some thickened epoxy and sanding it down. So because of that and some other areas where I had to sand right down to the fiberglass, I decided to put 2 extra coats on these. Also, I wanted to get epoxy. Step down here. I wanted to get some epoxy on all these areas where the seal is going to go, because I had sanded these flat before I even did the fiberglass, and some areas I sanded right into the fiberglass, especially on that one over there. I'll show you quickly, but yeah, so I wanted to get a nice even layer of epoxy on this so I can sand it, and that's where the seal will go eventually. I'll show you on this one, because this one, like right in here, it was such a big hump right here. I didn't notice it when I first fit the hatches because I just put spacers in the corners, and so that wasn't touching, just spacers to simulate the seal. So that was never a problem. When I took the spacers out just to sit the whole thing on flat to really check it, and the thing was teetering on this area right here. So I'm not going to refiberglass that because it's not worth doing. I'm just going to leave it epoxy. It actually has 3 layers of epoxy on it. So I'll sand that and paint it and then put the seal on down the road. Yeah, so here you might be able to see there's some lighter spots. That's where the bubbles were mostly, yeah, like I said, right on this piece. But, I think I'd learned by now, but I still screw up. Whatever. Okay, so before I put the hatches in here, the engine hatches for the winter, I gotta mess around with these a little bit, just to take some dimensions. If you've been following along, I call these the drain channels, and they are removable. This is a smaller one. There's 2 that go in the aft hatches behind where you are. This is one of them. And then I've got this one laid in here. This goes between the 2 engine hatches. And they are removable. I'm not going to pull it out. I just got it in there. But I have to measure this up because they need a bracket underneath them. Because you see on this one, I can show you, just because it's out. It just has this stainless steel little end on it. It's epoxied in and fiberglassed over. But if you put any weight on this thing, it would probably just pop it out. So I want to put a little bit of something under there. I'll make some little stainless steel brackets. If you're familiar with like house construction or anything, it probably look similar to like a joist hanger. But I got to measure all this up, and I can make those over the winter here. Okay, so as you can see, I have the engine hatches in. They are temporarily kind of wedged in there, just so they don't move around. I'm going to be figuring out what I'm going to do for hinges and also laying out the teak decking, so I don't really want them to move. So hopefully that happens soon. Alright, well, I'm back on this door hatch project. I'd like to get this squared away and finished this winter. And what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to get the surface at a consistent radius in this direction here. And it's pretty good in this direction now. I have already done work in the past to try to straighten out a dip that was going this way. But it still left me with these dips that go like this. So how I'm going to try to fix this is I'm creating this little, I have this piece of scrap wood here, and I'm just creating a profile along the bottom that matches this back edge, which is probably the least manipulated piece on this hatch, I'd say. So I just set this piece of wood on the ends at the level of the pencil lead here, and I already did this, and I just brought it along here and then created a line that I can sand off to get a nice curve to this thing here. Then what I'll do with this piece of wood is I'll just bring it along every inch or so, and wherever I see light, I'm just going to mark with this pencil, and eventually I'll end up with a bunch of ovals and circles and things, and those are the areas that I can fill. So I've sanded that profile into this piece of board here, and I put a couple of pieces of block on the outside and just clamped them on just to keep it from going side to side too much when I pull it across the whole surface. And after looking at this, I've also decided that I'm not going to bother figuring out where the low spots are because it's so inconsistent everywhere. Sometimes it's like right in the middle, sometimes it's over here. It's just, I can't even see how thick it needs to be sometimes because it's so minor that it's not worth doing that. It'll be easier just to spread a thin layer. It doesn't even have to be a 1/16 of an inch really over the whole thing, and then just pulling this across, and I think that's going to actually just do it. That's all it's going to need. So I'm just running some finer sandpaper over this edge because this is going to be the leading edge when I pull this across, and I just don't want any little things sticking out because any little thing that sticks out here is going to leave a line in the filler, and I know that will happen because it's done it with the plastic spreaders too. It does it with everything, so minimize those lines. If there's a line here or here, it's not a big deal, but try to minimize it when you can. I'm going to be pulling from the front edge to the back because I think back here, just like right in this area here, it's really dipped right here, like right past this, where this radius is, it dips like that. So I think by pulling all the filler this way, it'll build up along here, and it'll provide more filler and thickness to fill this area. Anyways, that's my thinking. So let's do it. Well, that didn't work totally great on the first pass, but it did highlight the areas that I have to go over again. My first problem was I didn't mix up enough filler, and I distributed it kind of evenly at the beginning, but obviously some areas didn't need any and some needed a lot, and I had to keep scraping it off the tool I made and reapplying it where it looked like it wasn't doing anything. Anyways, I'll have to let this set up for a while. But while it's still green, I'll mix up some more filler, put it in the areas that are obviously low, and try running my tool I made over the top of it again and get those areas filled in a little bit better. So in hindsight, I probably should have taken a video of this angle before I started because it was obvious where the dips were in this, and now it's not quite as obvious to me where the lows are. So that's actually a good sign. So I moved it over to the finished side of the basement just to let it dry. And as I mentioned, I went over it again, the second pass, concentrating on the low areas with my spreader I made. And now I'm just going to let it dry for a few days, and then we'll sand it. Alright, well that's the first round of sanding done. As I expected, there are some low areas here and there. This is, as a reminder, not the final fairing. This is just to get a nice rough curved shape so I can put the fiberglass on. And once I get the fiberglass on, then I'll do the final fairing with a fairing compound. Will be a lot easier to sand. Like, this stuff is like super hard to sand. It's got its basic shape here. There are a few little low spots that I can feel, but they're very minor and they can be filled with traditional fairing compound, which is the better way to go because it's much easier to sand. This stuff is really difficult to sand, and I just wanted to get the shape of it. And the next step right now is going to be to cover the whole thing with one layer of fiberglass. Alright, so I am done with the initial sanding of this. Now there's no fairing compound on this at all. This is just the like 3 coats of epoxy I put on over the top of the fiberglass, and I sanded it with this board for probably 90% of the thing with 40 grit sandpaper on it. And I'm not going to lie, sanding this epoxy with this board took a long time. Then around the edges and some little spots I used this 80 grit on just a smaller sanding block. And now there's a few low areas. I sanded until I was hitting the weave of the fiberglass and I stopped. So there are some low areas around, and I'm going to actually spread fairing compound over the whole entire surface. But before I do that, I'm going to just hand sand all these little spots. Doesn't have to be, you know, I'm not going to use a machine or anything. I'm just going to sand it till I don't see anything shiny, and then I'll cover the whole thing with fairing compound. All right, so it has a skim coat of fairing compound on it, and then now I have to sand about 95% of it off. All right, well, that's after all of the sanding. I did end up putting a second very thin coat on because it was a few areas. I don't know if the camera's even going to pick it up, but there's a lighter spot here, some over here, there's one here. Yeah, those areas were a little low, and yeah, that was it. So came out really good. I mean, the camera's not going to pick anything up, but just the curve in the top of that, and there is absolutely no wave anywhere. We really won't be able to tell until the thing is painted. Then you'll really notice how good it came out. But I'm really happy with it. Next step for this is going to be bring it over to the boat. I do have to re-drill out the holes for the hinges because I fiberglassed over them. But I didn't put any fairing compound on there because I can actually see where the holes were, and I can at least get them close. Then I'll bring it home and fair it out. There's not much fairing to do there. But that's it. Once that's done, then I can start making some calculations for some gas struts and where they're going to be mounted and get that going. But that's going to be for another video. And I can't really paint this, although it's smooth enough to paint probably now or start the painting process. But yeah, I got to wait till the spring because I'm in the garage. It's below the house, and it would really stink up the whole place because I'm not going to be able to open up any doors or anything. It's in the winter, so it's cold. So anyways, just a slave to Mother Nature here. But that's it for this hatch for now. All right, well, that's going to do it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. I know 2023 was not my probably most consistent year for videos. I didn't put out very many videos, and there was reasons for that. My focus was on other things, my operation and all that part you guys know about because I put that on a video. But from the summer through till just before New Year's, there was focus on other things. We had an aging dog that was declining, and she passed away a few days before New Year. And yeah, it's been an emotional year, and that's been our focus really. So the boat was way down on the list in 2023. So with that said, you know, sad times, but you know, hopefully 2024 I can get a little more done and focus on the boat a little more and other things that I need to focus on. And yeah, and we'll get more videos out, hopefully. We'll see. It's all about progress. If I make progress, I can put out videos. I'm not sticking to any schedule, but I'm going to try the best I can to put out as many as I can, because when I put them out, that means I'm making progress. So anyways, till the next video, you guys take care, and hopefully we see you really soon.